While I make preparations to let go of the 2018 Nissan Murano in favor of the 2015 Infiniti QX70, I realize that there is a certain category of content I'd love to give a little more coverage on. And here goes. I'm going in with full confidence that the QX70 is going to be good or better for us long term, but that does not mean that the Murano was all bad. In fact, the Murano was not bad at all. It was good. I've shared in a previous video that the main motivator for making this move is that this is 2022 and the vehicle market, used car market, is such that the Murano is way more valuable relative to the other one, to the QX70. So in selling this one and buying the other one, yes, we're paying a little more for that one than we would have a few years ago, but all in all, we're cashing in and making a whole lot of bank. So in this video, I'd like to talk about the two vehicles, comparing each other. And yes, I'm excited about the QX70, but the Murano has a lot of good too. And in this video, I'd be trying to highlight some of those differences, some of the similarities between them, and just talk candidly about it, at least to the things that I value. The first one is going to be design or form. These are both crossovers. They're not your standard boxy SUV. They're not your little hatchbacks either. These are based off sedans, and they're raised a little bit and given a little more utility. And I usually say this: if you're an artist and given a blindfold test, and you had an amateur like me describe these vehicles, I would describe the QX70 like this. It is a raised hatchback. It's got a pretty long nose. It's got a low roof, sloped towards the, lower in the back, and then it's got I call this a truncated trunk, a really short rear hang. Okay, makes sense. And I'd say it's a sleek looking car. What's funny is that I would describe the Murano pretty much the same way. It's got some sort of a longish nose. Because it's front-wheel drive base, it looks a little different. It is a raised vehicle, right? It's not exactly an SUV. It's not a minivan. It's got a slope. The roof slopes down in the back, and then they have that design language in that time called the floating roof. So they have that black right there, so that it looks like it's just sitting there. Odd design, but I'm usually inside the car, so it doesn't hurt too much. And then the back is also pretty short. It makes you wonder, what's the utility going to be like in these two vehicles? But remember this, again, in a previous video, I've mentioned that these platforms are vastly different. This one is way, way older. Now, this one is based off a sport sedan or a sport vehicle, a sporty platform, the FM platform. And what I usually look at this is, I look at it as a G37 sedan, a sporty vehicle with, it's been raised up and given a little more utility. This one here, I look at that as a Maxima, but in reality, what you have is that this is an old platform. The first vehicle in this generation came out in 2009, and the first one in this generation came out in 2015. That means that there are going to be some inherent differences, because newer is usually better with regards to the basic functionality of a vehicle. And I'll look at the basic functionality of a vehicle as a vessel for carrying people and things. Now for that, let's go ahead and open these doors, and I'll tell you why I said that. Okay, open this door, and I'll open this other one as well. So first thing is space. I think when it comes to front space, driver utility, they're both pretty good, decently sized vehicle. You never feel cramped. And that's the thing about Nissan vehicles I've noticed, is that the driver is always fine. So that's one thing here. You've got ample space. I'll just talk about utility. Let's talk about space. We'll talk about material quality and all that stuff later, but for now it's just how you get in. I think this is good. It's ample over here. And then back here, it's a little tight. There's this test I usually do. I call it the sit behind myself test, whereby the driver's seat is in my comfortable position. I'm 6'2", and I try to get behind here. How comfortably can I, one, get in, and two, how comfortably can I sit in there? Because I can stuff myself in there, but how comfortable will I be just staying there? It's a little questionable here, but I know you can sit an adult here. One thing I need to mention about these crossovers, both of them, this one and the Murano, unlike the Nissan Rogue, The Nissan Rogue was meant for utility, and I think you can sit, you can get more people more comfortably inside the Rogue. Actually, the Murano was meant as more of a lifestyle vehicle. People who don't really have kids, for example, you know. But hey, look at this. So this is the Murano, and that's my sitting position. And as you can see, there's ample space. It looks like there's way more. I think, funny enough, for whatever reason, the Murano feels longer. And I know what the difference is, because this part doesn't look as tall as it was in the other one, but it's got a higher floor. And I think people like that, because when you're trying to get into a car like this, you just slide across. You don't have to drop down like you go into a sedan. Okay, so that's all we got with regards to space and I guess visibility. Here, the rear door, and I haven't mentioned this, but Nissan doors, at some point, they got to this design where the rear doors open so wide, and I'm trying to remember. I think the Q45 was one of those where the doors opened almost 85, 80, you know, not 90, but really, really wide. So it allows you good entry into the vehicle. Sometimes when you look at them, the doors look kind of short. You can see that, you can kind of see that, but the way you get in, it's pretty good. So here, with my sitting position, you can already see that there's quite a lot of space over here, so it's not too terrible to get in. So that's one thing that the Murano does very, very well. And if you've got car seats, I'd say, like we do here, the Murano does a better job. We try that depending on how big your car seat is, how big the kids are. I think entry is going to be much, much easier over here. And then something else, pretty subtle. Look at the floor. Do you see how flat it is, that little hump? It's very, very low. Again, this is a front wheel based vehicle, and as a result, I think it's got a higher floor. I'm not sure if it's taller or not, but they do have flat floors because it does not have to account for the drive shaft tunnel that the rear wheel drive vehicles have, like this one here. So as a result, see all that space in the middle? Yeah. You lose that with this vehicle, but the Murano has it. So that's the first thing, is that utility. Just getting people in there and sitting them down, it's going to be much, much easier to do that in the Murano. One big difference though, let me show you this. Passenger side now. Do you see this? Do you see how much space, how much room you have over here? This is basically a reflection of that side, right? And sometimes this design lets you know that this is a vehicle that was sold in other markets, so they can easily switch over and have a right-hand drive vehicle. So this is what the smaller, the tighter vehicle has. How about the Murano? The Murano, suddenly, see all that room you saw over there? I did point out that it seemed like it was a little shorter this way, right? But because of this nice swoop design, I know I'm usually very, very uncomfortable whenever I sit in the front passenger seat of the Murano. My left knee is usually right over here, and it's an interesting, location, because I can't just stretch my legs. I just seem like I always come out with side pains whenever I sit in the Murano. But as long as you're not as tall as me, as wide as I am, and sitting here, depending on how far you've scooted it, I think I noticed, regardless of how far it is, unless I scooted it all the way back and then I had my knees bent up, it is usually a little less comfortable right here. A shame, really, considering how comfortable everything else is. So that part accounts for putting people in. How about stuff? Let's talk about stuff, putting stuff in. And we'll start with the trunk. Yeah, that wasn't it. So many things going on over here. Yeah, there you go. Nice. So, just looking at it from here, they're not too different right now. And I think even with the opening height, that one seems just a little higher, although I always bump my head regardless. The opening width seems reasonable, both of them. They're not tiny hatchbacks is what I'd say. They're not like the G37 Coupe, for example, right? But I'll tell you this, I feel like that floor is a little lower, right? Enables you to put things in a little easier. This one's not too far, honestly. It's not too different. The width opening, pretty much the same on both sides. The roof over there looks to be just a little higher, but somehow. Now this one looks way sportier, way sleeker, but they both have this slope, right? But somehow these guys were able to do a lot with it, because I feel like this trunk is way more spacious than that over there. You can kind of tell by the little window thing compared to that one there, a little more window. But you can see, I usually like to get all the features, all the different accessories you can get whenever you get these vehicles. So I always get the privacy shade, or the privacy cover. And you can see this here, compare it with this one here. Now, sometimes, depending on what it is I'm carrying in the Murano, I usually have to remove this thing and put it away. But you'll realize that here, this thing is... maybe it is high enough because it's right at the seats, but there's barely anything else. So you can almost tell that one does allow you more cargo space, even with the privacy cover removed. And this one here is a little more rigid. Actually, it feels good. It's nice, hard, with nice felt material on it. But I want to show you something else. Now that we're in the trunk area, this one allows you to do that, so it's less intrusive. The trunk, if I can get the phone to focus, I'll open this here, so I'll show you a few differences. Both of these trunks do have storage underneath, and this one here, you'll see, has your spare tire. It's got a Bose subwoofer, and you've got some space on the side, you know, some compartments over here. This one here has the same thing going on. You can see it's got a large spare wheel. Thankfully, they still offered spares back, you know, during this time, right? Subwoofer there, and you've got storage for your tools, your roadside emergency tools over here. Makes you wonder where they are in the other one, right? I'll tell you. On this one, they're actually on the other side. See that yellow tab over there? Yeah, that's an indicator as to where it's going to be. But I suppose I need to remove this one here first. Oh, the configuration can be a little challenging sometimes. Okay. There it is. That's where the tools are, the jack and everything else. On the other side, all you have is empty space. But hey, it's a stash box. You could, you know, hide stuff in there, or just store stuff in there, however you look at it. The QX70, no such luck. This is all solid. Okay? And that's what you get, you know. Talk about a sport utility vehicle, you know, the way it's built, the chassis stiffness and things like that. And back then, I mean, I suppose no one was demanding that kind of storage from vehicles, but this one does it pretty well. So now we've talked about putting people in, we've talked about putting stuff in. Let's talk about, while we're on stuff, let's go inside the vehicle and I'll show you something else. So, stuff. What other stuff do people have? Drivers, you know, might have phones, because this is 2022, drinks and things like that. And I've talked about this vehicle. I've talked about how amazing it is to find that I have a cup holder insert. So it does have cup holders, two of them. You've got a little bit of storage over here. You've got your center armrest. There you go. And another thing, if you open the right one, you can see this one here. You've got a glove box over there, sunglass storage, and you've got these pockets. Usually some of the most inconvenient things to use. I never really know what you put in there. What do you put, like a little Bible? I really don't know. A map, you know, some tools. It's an interesting pocket. This one here. Okay, nothing on the door. You've got the seat back pockets. Same there. Nope, nothing there. But you do have this right here. And if you open this down, see, this is usually one of those tricky things, because when you leave it by itself before you pull that, you unlatch it, it has just enough play that sometimes people don't usually notice that you could do that. So you could cause some damage with it. So here, it is low. It's a weird position. Cup holders in the back with this dangling, I call it Mercedes style. Then this, hey, it's a little tiny, but this car, this vehicle, now I'm calling it a car, does not make any pretenses that it's a utility vehicle. It is, yeah, it doesn't have the U in the sport utility part, but it's a lifestyle vehicle, and you can see it. Remember, G37, you know, with a little more utility. Now let's look at the more modern vehicle and see what's up. Front. What can you not store over here? Okay, cup holders. Got two of those. Got this pocket over here. I usually use this for phones most times. You've got here, you've got your typical, you know, center console pocket. You've got this layer over here, this other one here for coins. Not bad so far. You've got your sunglass holder or whatever else you want to put up there. Glove box, most inconvenient glove box I've ever had to deal with. You've got a pocket over there. You could put stuff in there. You do have this one here. I suppose you could use this as a handle, as a pocket and storage as well. You do have this one on the side where you could put your little Gideon's Bible, right? A bottle over here and whatever else you can fit back there. So that's quite a lot already, right? And that's both doors. Over here, hey, see, I told you I could use this as a pocket. You've got this handle, the way it's set up, you could use that as a pocket. You've got a bottle holder here, a lot of bitty space back there. You've got this one here as well. And then you also have, a pocket right here for your phones or tablet. You do have a rear armrest, right? Yeah, you do. And you've got this pocket over here, cup holders. This one does not, have any other hidden pockets, but I'd say you do have plenty of space, plenty of storage wherever you need it. So I think if you look at a vehicle as a vessel to take you from A to B, both vehicles do that pretty well. But if you look at a vehicle as a utility, it's better than just walking and carrying your stuff. It's for storing stuff, it's for carrying stuff. I think all in all, the Murano does a better job of that. And that is, packaging just got much better in modern vehicles, right? So what else is different about them? I was looking at the top roof racks. Yeah, they both have them. I think the limit is usually about 100 pounds, I think. Sometimes you could see a sticker, but this one doesn't say it. I know the FX50 does say the limit is about 100 pounds, I think, so not too much. You could get a towing package for either one of them, but I think this one got 2,000 pounds and this one was maybe 1,000. I can't remember. Again, you shouldn't be towing. I wouldn't be towing with a CVT, but if you had something like a bike, for example, so you need a bike rack, you can still get it done using a Murano. This one here would do a little better with towing, but again, it depends on if that matters to you at all. But if that makes sense, if utility is your only thing, depending on the prices, I think this is a winner. But yeah, knowing all that, I've test driven them in the past. I already know that. I'm still going for this. And I think the next part, the next half video, the next mini series, I guess, the next installment in the series is going to tell you why I still stuck with this one here. Hint, refinement and luxury.